Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the flag salute. What happened to the flag?
Do we have a flag? Pledge allegiance?
Sorry for the delay. There we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everybody. It's still summer. All right, here we go. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meeting of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Cedar Grove Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be advertised by having the date, time, and place thereof posted on bulletin boards in the district, published and/or transmitted to the Verona Cedar Grove Times and Star Ledger newspapers, filed with the township clerk, and posted on the district website. Roll call, please.
Mr. Grandi.
Here.
Mrs. Keegan.
Here.
Mr. Pollack.
Here.
Mr. Marzullo.
Here.
Mrs. Dora.
Here. Is this, it's like humming.
I hear
You hear it?
it. Yeah.
I'm gonna move over. It's annoying. Okay. Good evening, everybody, again. I hope everybody is enjoying their summer. This time, we will open the meeting to public comment for agenda items only, and we do not have anybody on that, so we'll close that portion and move on to our committee reports. Mr. Grande, how would you like to start tonight?
Sure.
Have any committee reports for us?
Just finance.
Okay.
Finance committee met this past Monday. From the board is myself and Mr. Palick. Mr. Grosso was there and Mr. DeVita as well. It was a relatively quick meeting. Most of the questions revolved around the bills list, which I believe is on the materials this evening. But really nothing that warrants rising to discussing here tonight. More just
Daily operations.
questions here, questions there, and they were answered to our satisfaction. Other topics that we talked about were just other, again, expense-related items, change orders, things of that. But again, nothing that rises to the level of discussion here tonight.
Okay, great, thank you. Mrs. Keegan?
I have a facilities update. On August 15th, the Facilities Committee met, and we discussed various projects that were happening over the summer across the district and things that are ongoing. It was myself, Mr. Marzullo, Mr. Grosso, Mr. DeVita, and Mr. Bannon. Mr. Bannon did a fantastic job of walking us through all of the things that are happening. I'm going to give you a rundown right now across all the buildings. North End, the baseball field drainage was addressed. The courtyard project is moving along. It's nearing completion. There were 4 classroom floors that were abated and replaced. South End, they revamped the outside areas by removing river rock and replacing it with mulch, safer for the kids. There was an electrical sub-panel that was upgraded. Both North End and South End had hard drive upgrades for their security cameras, and both gyms now have drop-down vinyl curtains, electronically controlled, instead of those bulky wall partitions. At the middle school, the boiler has been replaced and the lighting updated to LED through the PSE&G grant, and the all-gender bathroom is complete. It's located near the nurse's office. It was formerly a custodial closet with plumbing in it, so it was adequate for converting into the bathroom. At the high school, there's new boilers and hot water heater replacement in progress. It's on schedule as of right now. The cafeteria floor has been replaced. There's been a net fence installed at the baseball field to protect a house from foul balls.
That's a good
Important.
thing.
Uh-huh. The stage rigging behind us is getting a second inspection, and we're still awaiting the information on all of that. Mr. Bannon has done a really good job at looking at different items that were presented by the ad hoc committee as part of the referendum plan, along with Mr. DeVita, to try and address them and review them outside of the plan. One example is the building roofs. All buildings are going to get a thermal scan checkup mid to end of September. This scan is going to identify areas in need of replacement and any areas that can be rehabilitated at a lower cost than replacing completely. Also, the district completed a ROD grant application. The money is intended to address the North End, South End schools' electrical upgrades and some HVAC improvements in both school gyms. We should hear the results on that September to early October. And the approval or awarding of that grant money is going to help guide the use of ESSER 3 funds. The hope is to put that money toward offsetting the cost on more HVAC improvements. Updates will be provided as that progresses. So regarding the bond referendum, the DEP application for the LRP access road is complete. We should hear the result of that October to early November. We've also requested a cost analysis of LRP renovations with and without the addition to sharpen the focus on the referendum. As it stands right now, we're looking at LRP, potentially adding AC or HVAC upgrades to North End, South End, and CGHS. And our goal is to be as fiscally responsible to the entire town as possible while addressing the growing township and district. So once we pull together enough information, we're going to hold a special meeting, hopefully, to talk specifically about this.
Thank you, Mrs. Keegan. That was very informative. I just want
A
to,
lot of things happening, and Mr. Bannon did a phenomenal job of detailing everything.
I really want to piggyback on that with Mr. Bannon and his whole crew, that he really has done. I've been in a lot of the buildings this summer, and the buildings are looking really well, and they're working hard, and I know in some areas they were short some staff, and he really has done a nice job with pulling the resources together and getting the buildings to look as good as they possibly can. So shout out to the whole custodial staff and Mr. Bannon for overseeing that, so great job there. Okay, Mr. Palick, you are
Okay,
up.
thank you, Ms. Dora. I'll focus on personnel first. We met on the 22nd of the month. Myself, Ms. Marzullo, Ms. Russell, and we spoke a great deal about the personnel and the difficulty it has been throughout this summer trying to really bring staff into the district, not because of the district itself, but because of the shortage in the area of teachers. I'm very happy to see that the agreement is going to be passed this evening, which is going to enhance that and put us in a more competitive role, hopefully, in being able to bring some teachers into our district. We also talked about the process of vetting our teachers, and when we bring new hires in, the process that we're using to follow up on staff, so we're absolutely sure we're bringing the best staff into the district that we possibly can. And then the other aspect of our discussions focused on the items you will see on this evening's agenda that are up for approval in the area of personnel. May I move on to curriculum instruction?
Yes, please do.
Okay. Curriculum instruction, I thought was an outstanding
Yes.
meeting. It was in the afternoon of August 22nd. It was Mrs. Dora, myself, and Superintendent Mr. Russo, as well as our three supervisors, Ms. Masato, Ms. Barboza, and Mr. Pearson. They did an excellent job of presenting to us the district goals. And I just want to quickly remind everyone in the audience that the board earlier in the year passed 5 board goals that we are focusing on. in the area of fiscal and the referendum, academic achievement, more so academic growth. Then we are talking about communication between the board and the public, accountability of all individuals involved in the district, whether it be in academics, finances, in all these particular areas, and then a focus on special education with a potential for an audit. District goals now need to be connected to those goals, and that is what we spoke with them about. They presented some goals, and they're taking them back to refine them. We will be presenting them for approval at our meeting in September. We will also be presenting an approval that will be linked to those goals, the individual building goals. And so therefore, we understand that we are linked with our goals moving forward, the board, the district, and the buildings. Now, in respect to the buildings may have, under a certain goal, a different area of emphasis, but it is going to work in tandem with the goals that we have set and we have worked with. Also, that evening at the meeting, they presented us with the NJSLA testing results that were presented this past summer. And at the September meeting, and I asked parents to watch that meeting and to come out to that meeting, is when they're going to present the results of our testing from last year. And I will say there have been some improvements made in some certain areas, but I will also say that there are still some areas of stagnation in mathematics, and some areas that we're going to need to look towards. And as I've said often in the past, that when you speak about testing and looking for gaps in testing and so forth, you know, you fall into several categories, and one is not always the teacher. It could be what's being taught. It could be, does the curriculum match up? Is the instruction of what's being taught match up with what's on the test? There are a variety of reasons that need to be researched to ensure that we continue to move forward in this particular direction. But they did an excellent job of presenting that data, and they're going to present it to the public at our September meeting. I'd also like to commend them for their dialogue and their insight into where we can support them, where we can then give them a toolbox to work with. Everything is easily said, but unless we provide them with the toolbox to do the things that are necessary to promote the growth in those particular areas, we're being remiss in our responsibilities. But it was an outstanding meeting. We're having a follow-up meeting before our presentation in September, and you can truly be assured that this will be an area of focus for the district as we move forward on how we're going to address some of these particular deficiencies in these particular areas.
Mr. Pelican, I just want to add to that to make sure the public understands. You know, we talk a lot about the Linkit and Linkit data. Linkit is, we've said it several times, but is really what we're using to drive our instruction. And I want to just add that the curriculum and instruction supervisors have used the time over the summer, a lot of the time, to dissect that data through Linkit to find out, try to get a better understanding as to why the areas have shown growth, what are we doing that's working, and focusing as well on the areas that didn't show as much growth as we would have liked to seen. And that information is what really will drive the instruction that's coming ahead. So they're really putting in a lot of time and effort now, and I just want to, you know, publicly say that we really appreciate what they're doing and how they turnkeyed that to Mr. Palick and myself, which in turn we turnkey to the rest of the board, to show that direction that the district is moving with, really that strong emphasis on academic growth, and not necessarily the achievement piece, but the idea of a growth mindset model that every student should be showing growth, regardless of where you fall on the continuum. All right, so I really do want to make it public.
And another point, I think, Dawn, that we discussed very quickly, and Mr. Grosso helped us understand this, is that we need to encourage our parents that are out there, both viewing this and are here with us this evening, to encourage other parents to go to the portal and check what's in their child's portal. We had some statistics that were not, I would say, the most encouraging about people getting into the portal, checking things about their own children. And therefore, I think that if we're going to work as partners in this process, they actually
great
have to
point.
understand and know what's going on in their child's program, and then be able to articulate that with their staff member, whomever that may be, at the school. And so it was something that kind of really took me back, that not everybody knew what their child's report card looked like or whatever. And so I think this is something we need to continually work along with, move forward on, and encourage our buildings to do some programming with parents to have them even better understand the report card, especially at the elementary level where you have a standards-based report card. You might say that to the parent in the neighborhood, and they have no idea what you're talking about with a standards-based report card. So it was an excellent meeting. I thought a lot was done, and they presented some excellent data for us.
A lot of good work happening, so. Okay, thank you, Mr. Pollack. Mr. Marzullo, you have anything to add? I know you
No,
attended
I
a lot of these
attended,
meetings.
I attended
as
the
well.
personnel meeting and the facilities meeting, which you heard a lot about. I just want to, say they were very productive meetings. Everyone's working very hard, and like you said, Mr. Bannon and the custodial staff working hard over the summer. And, look, next week we start another school year, and I'm just wishing, everyone had an enjoyable, peaceful summer, and looking forward, recharged, coming back with the kids next week, and having a great year, healthy, happy year. Football team's off to a good start. The fall sports are starting, volleyball, soccer, so good luck to them, and just looking forward to a great year.
Yeah, me too. I second those statements. Okay, so I don't have anything to add to the committees because I kind of did as we went along. Moving on to, there's no board presentations today, right? So the only thing that I wanted to add, a couple little things, is, again, I second what Mr. Marzullo said. I wish everybody, I hope they enjoyed your summer and they're ready for a nice, clean start. I also want to say that I attended the new teacher orientation on Monday, and we have a lot of new teachers, so I was really excited. Everybody was full of energy, so I had a really quick opportunity to address them, introduce themselves, speak on the behalf of the board, and everybody looked excited, so I feel really good about that. A lot of the administrators, all the administrators were there, so it was very positive, I felt. The other thing I wanted to add, and we have our two of our union members here, and I want to thank you for coming today. Later on in the evening, or shortly, we will have the resolution for the ratification for the union contract. That was an experience for me. I learned a lot, and Mr. Edelstein was a huge help with that, and I'm happy at the way it turned out. I think the staff is happy, and I appreciate all the effort and the time and the sweat that the two of you put in, as well as the rest of the team, so I ask that you please convey that back to the rest of the team afterwards, but I think we came to a really good settlement, and I will reiterate what we've said, that the board is committed to supporting our staff, and I think it was, somebody said it, we're really looking to encourage top quality teachers to come into our district, and the first way to do that is to have a good pay scale and create an environment where people want to be. So thank you for your time and your effort, and I look forward to continue to work with you. So, and we will move on that at some point in the evening. And that's all I have, I think. I will pass it over to you, Mr. Grosso, for your update.
Sure, absolutely, thank you. I just also want to echo what Mr. Marzullo said, for the beginning of the new year. This is one of the only professions where you can reset every year. And it's, not everybody gets that ability, and even for our students, maybe it wasn't the year that you wanted the previous year, but you do have the opportunity in education to reset that, and I think that's a beautiful thing and a perk of this field, and as a student going through this. But tonight I would like to present to you the CUSAC report. Now, just to give everybody a rundown, what CUSAC is, it's a New Jersey Quality Single Accountability Continuum. This is something that's in the statute, and it was our year to have this done, and they looked back from the past year, not the 22-23, but the 21-22 year, and they look at just basically several categories. It's instruction program, look at fiscal management, governance, operations, and personnel. And for each district to be placed as a high-performing district, you would have to pass each one of these CUSAC areas, and you'd have to meet or satisfy the state's weighted indicators of an 80% or more. We did present on all 5 of our CUSAC areas above 80%. I will share with you what those percentages are and what those particular areas mean. So we have instruction program, and instruction program came in at 84%, and this is obviously out of 100. What this area contains is our curriculum, our programming, as well as our test scores from the NJSLA. And if we just recognize the fact that the data that the state was evaluating was the first test after the hiatus of taking this due to COVID. So that 84% represents those areas as well as our programming. Then we have our fiscal management, and our fiscal management is exactly what it says. It's our budgeting process. It is how we, when the auditors come in, they look at what we do and how we do it. So that area came out to be a 92%. Then we have our governance, and our governance is basically looking at how the board governs the district and how meeting particular deadlines, meeting policies, looking at policies, et cetera. That came out to a 94%. Then we're looking at operations, and operations takes into consideration the overall structure of what we do in the district, and that could mean anywhere from programming from tobacco, alcohol, drugs, to presentation of HIBs. So all those pieces in there, that brought us to a 92%. And finally, it's our last one, which is personnel. And personnel is our hiring practices, how we present, how we account for, our evaluations, et cetera, from our staff members, and that came out to a 97%. So overall, those are our 5 categories. I'm very happy to present and share that we are recognized as a high-performing district according to CUSAC, and that will be, the next steps will be the next 3 years until this round comes up again.
And there's no action plan.
And there are no action plans. You would get an action plan for under 80. We're not near that, so that's it.
Excellent. Any questions, discussion about that? Okay, well then let's get down to business here. Can I have, well, before we start, Mr. Grosso, under Business Administrator's Report? You going to comment on G7?
If we're going to start with the Business Administrator's Report, I'm going to administratively remove the number 7, Employee Vacation Day Payout.
Okay, thank you. So can I have a motion for G1 through G6 and G8 through G11?
So move.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that? Roll call, please.
Mr. Grandi.
Yes.
Mrs. Keegan.
Yes.
Mr. Pollak.
Yes.
Mr. Marzullo.
Yes.
Ms. Dora.
Yes. Under the superintendent's report, can I have a motion for H1 through H3?
So moved.
No, you're good.
I just wanted to, before you all vote on this, if we look under H3, I am going to administratively remove 3M.
Well, that's under.
I'm sorry.
We're not there yet. That's under.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm jumping it.
Yes.
I'm jumping it.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
You're good. H1 through H3, can I have a motion, please, to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Grandi.
Yes.
Mrs. Keegan.
Yes.
Mr. Pollak.
Yes.
Mr. Marzullo.
Yes.
Ms. Dora.
Yes.
Okay, now.
Under I,
Thank you.
superintendent.
Under I, 3M, I'm administratively removing that. And to 3N, I'm adjusting that to read assistant girls head varsity soccer coach.
Got it. Okay, so can I have a motion of I-1 through I-16 with a strike of 3M and a correction to 3N?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, please. A roll call, please, sorry.
Mr. Grundy,
Yes.
Mrs. Keegan,
Yes.
Mr. Pollak,
Yes.
Mr. Marzullo.
Yes.
Ms. Dora.
Yes.
May I, before you get to J, say a couple of things? First, and these are both directed at the approval of the memorandum of agreement. First, I think that the board president, in thanking everyone, seriously undervalued her own role because she was the person who drove, and I mean drove, the notion that this contract was going to be approved, settled, and voted on before school started. She actually would have liked it at the beginning of the summer, but before school started was the key, and she really gets the credit for motivating everybody on our team to get that done. Second, the board had only a two-person negotiating committee because 3 board members had some kind of conflict or other which prevented them from participating. The rules for approving a memorandum of agreement are different because now the negotiations are over and there is a signed agreement. However, there is one technicality in those rules which prevents Mr. Pollak from voting on this contract. It has to do with a relative employed by the district. But I think that it would be appropriate if he wishes, while nothing's on the table for a vote, to give him the opportunity to express his thoughts on the contract.
Thank you, Steve. I'd like to say both to the negotiating committee for the board and for the staff that you did an outstanding job in moving this forward to get it done in one fiscal year is wonderful. I think the agreement is one that is really an asset for both the union as well as the board. I think it was needed. I think the idea that you moved forward and helped promote bringing a salary guide into the competitive arena for what we need in the future is outstanding, and it's the way negotiations should work. And you really did a great job with it. We're done with it in a year. We can move on. Everybody can take a sigh of relief, but thanks to all the people that do it, because I've done it. And I know how time-consuming and how much energy you have to expend in preparation to be a participant at that level. So thank you to everyone that had done it, and I look forward to working through it in the next several years.
And I would add only that this new contract is going to go until June of 2027. So we're not going to be doing this again anytime soon.
That was smart.
Yes. It's the best part. Okay, so where were we? Thank
Yay.
you. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay, so under the superintendent report for contracts, can I have a motion for J1 through J6, please?
So moved.
1 second.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Grundy,
Yes.
Mrs. Keegan,
Yes.
Mr. Pollak,
Yes, present for number 6, but not voting.
Mr. Marzullo,
Yes.
Mrs. Dora.
Yes. And then under superintendent report for special services, can I have a motion for K1 through K3 and addendum A1 through A3, please.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Grandi.
Yes.
Mrs. Keegan.
Yes.
Mr. Pollak.
Yes.
Mr. Marzullo.
Yes.
Mrs. Dora.
Yes. Okay, I now open this portion of the meeting to public comment. The Board of Ed recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. Public participation shall be governed by the following rules. Please preface comments by stating your name, address, municipality of residence, and group affiliation. Please be mindful of your statement length and keep each statement to a 3-minute limit. Participants may not speak more than once on the same topic until all others who wish to speak on the topic have been heard. Please direct all statements, questions, or inquiries to the presiding officer. The presiding officer may interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statement, question, or inquiry if it is too lengthy or abusive, obscene, or may be defamatory. The rules may be waived if necessary to protect the privacy or to maintain an orderly operation of the board. That is a mouthful. Okay, Mr. Tedesco, you are first on our list.
Hello, Mike Tedesco, 90 Rugby Road here in Cedar Grove, and I am the president of the Cedar Grove Education Association. And on behalf of the CGEA, I want to express our gratitude to the Board of Education for ratifying this collective bargaining agreement. I especially want to thank President Dora and board member David Grande for giving up their time and energy in negotiating on behalf of the board. It was an experience for you and me as well. It was my first one as well, so that was fun. Your commitment and support to the betterment of our educational community doesn't go unnoticed. The CGEA looks forward to continuing our collaboration with the board to provide the best possible learning environment for our students. So thank you for your time, and we're looking forward to a great school year as well.
Thank you, Mr. Tedesco.
Thank you.
And all your members. We look forward to working together. Okay, next we have Jason Krasnow? Did I say that right? Got it. All right.
My name is Jason Krasnow. I live at 44 Linwood Road. While this past decade has brought some substantial advances in the way the schools here have been run, including, I hear, some improvements in some of the bullying issues and some of the special service issues which predominated a number of years ago, I want to make sure that we're still attentive to making sure that those issues don't resurface. Well, I had a limited time in the district and so wasn't privy to a 20-plus year snapshot of events. Rumor and local hearsay suggests to me that this kind of up and down pattern has happened more than once. Let's finish it now. Let's close the door on that period and not watch our rankings and reputation drop down the drain because we choose to go backward to a different time. These kinds of incidents and the mentality which pervaded the district in some past years often, unfortunately, followed protected classes. It was a mentality of negativity and distaste toward individuals who certain folks within the district viewed as different. I've been made to understand that that is significantly diminished, and I greatly appreciate that, and I'm happy to hear it. However, we need to make sure, moving on from this time, that we discourage these incidents, that we solidify, I don't think solidize was the word there, solidify our administrative system and minimize the issue, not promote it or allow it to fester if it should arise again. I come at this from a disability perspective. The disability issues which I'm most familiar with, which are the tic or movement disorder called Tourette syndrome, and some other sensory motor processing changes which tend to happen with Tourette syndrome sometimes, are good case studies of these kinds of issues. So I just want to go over some of the things to look out for, because what I remember from being in the schools was hearing about this a few times a year and then being told, not suggested, to forget about it for the rest of the year. We should not do that. that is not a good decision for the schools in 2023. I realize that, of course, anyone here will say that they haven't. I have no reason to believe that that's a dishonest statement, but we should watch for it because I know it has happened, because I saw it. Other members of the community are aware of this, and we need to make sure that we continue on an upward trajectory. I keep stating that, but it is the truth, and it is something that we have seen in this district and in many other districts fluctuate in a way that was not favorable to the people living in that district. The kind of things I've heard just about my condition are, it's not quite real, it's due to bad parenting, it's been invented to suit a political, personal, or religious agenda. I've been this way my whole life. I don't think I had such an agenda when I was 4 or 3, but I assume that people have some explanation for how that functions. And the classic, things were better when the schools didn't have to admit students with these problems. I've also, of course, heard the commentaries about members of different other groups, including specific thoughts on the children of mixed religious background parents, of which I am one. All of these are delivered from a sneering and self-righteous position where the person delivering the comment understands that they can get away with it. That's why they're doing it. It's not a slip of the tongue. It's not a statement that isn't made with ill intent. We had a pattern of these in the past where the people who were making these comments knew or had to know reasonably that they would damage the prospects of the students who fit within those groups. Certain people noted that the leeway around these issues made them feel that they were in a place where they felt safe. Of course, that didn't extend to the other people who were being targeted. We're not living 20 years ago, or 40, or 60 years ago, or 100 years ago. We're living right now, and I have to say to you that these things are not viable in the present social climate in New Jersey. They are a problem for any district that allows them. Removing easily provided accommodations which cost the district nothing to teach a lesson in values or conformity that the person claims is being demonstrated to the students and to the community. Snapping at recent immigrants to speak only English, another beautiful slip of the tongue there, to speak only English in the school setting between themselves after fleeing from a country in which the conditions for them were, to say at the least, less than ideal. Pontificating on the moral and social virtues and vices of ethnic groups which, if you combine the groups under the classification, make up more than half of the population of the world that students will later have to interact with. These are not things that lead to success. The solutions are many, varied, and they exist within a wide spectrum of available options. The good news is that I understand many of those options have been implemented, that things are getting better, and that many people report an upward trajectory on these issues, and that the district over the past few years has become more in line with local standards. I know some of our professionals, teachers, and administrators comprehend and want to address the problems and are certainly willing to work in tandem with those policy changes. So I'm thrilled to see that things aren't the dismal scene that I'm describing. What I want to emphasize to you is that there is a risk that they don't stay on an upward trajectory. We know that certain individuals, essentially and mostly limited to the individuals making the comments, don't want to see things improve in that direction. I'm here to tell you that I'm a citizen who has no legal agenda. I have an interest in these issues which comes from my own experience and the experience of others. I don't really have anything to gain or lose here. But increasingly, the kinds of people who are interested in these sorts of occurrences arrive with a notice to appear in court or a letter to a journalistic outlet of repute that then is not happy with the people who they feel committed the offense. We've gotten much better. I'm pretty happy with the direction many of the services in the district are headed in. I think some other people would agree with me and some would disagree. But I understand that we've been comparatively lucky in this district to be relatively scandal-free, trouble-free, lawsuit-free, I'm not sure about free, I don't keep track of every single one. But in general, to be on an upward trajectory. Let's keep it that way, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate your comment. Okay, next we have Mr. Albrecht.
Greg Albrecht, 2 Elmwood Road. I listened with interest to what Mr. Pollack had to say about the math scores. I'm encouraged by, the goals that he and the rest of the folks are setting. But I did have a question, just to clarify from my own knowledge. Ms. Pollack, I came to a meeting, I guess back early in the spring, and you had expressed the same concern about the math scores. I'm just wondering, what measure are you using for math scores?
Right now, the assessment that's being used is the one provided by the State Department, which is the NJSLA testing. And when you see those results, and one of the things that I'm concerned about personally is that the result that you get shows the percentage of students in the district or in the particular grade level or in that particular class that meet the state average, not so much meet a proficiency level on the test. So they meet the state average that is provided. I think these are good barometers, and especially now that the supervisors presented to us the results in cohorts. So we're able to see where a group is moving and where they went from year A and then moved to the next grade, how they did the following year. They're going to present that publicly in the September meeting, and that is where their goals need to be somewhat directed towards how they are going to accomplish meeting those specific needs. And again, they could be different in different grade levels, at different buildings. And as Mrs. Dora said, the Linkit score actually gives you the particular standards that specific group are going to be deficient in or excel in, and allow the teacher to see where they can move with their particular lessons and so forth. Math is probably one of the most difficult subjects to move forward from in that particular area, because if you don't move at a quick enough pace, you're not where you need to be the year moving up.
Right.
But if you move too fast, not all the children stay on the train. And so the teacher has a big dilemma of keeping everybody on the train moving forward, but getting them to that point. And I think that the supervisors we have in place right now are doing an excellent job of providing the toolbox to present that down to the lower levels.
And I want to add to that regarding the math and the Linkit. So the Linkit, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it has 3 tests, an A, B, and a C, that's given throughout the school year. And one of the things that we talked about in our curriculum meeting with the supervisors is as Mr. Pollack said, their goals need to align to how we're going to measure that progress, but not measure it in June. Measure it after Linkit A is given, which is in the beginning of the year, and then from A to B. Are we seeing growth from A to B? And assessing the goal and the process of meeting that goal periodically throughout the year. Because if you wait till May or June for Linkit C and you find, well, this didn't work, we've lost a whole year. So rather than doing the assessment of the goal and are the buildings meeting their goals, we want to assess the growth from Linkit A to B. And is it effective? Because if it's not, then we got to tweak it.
Right. You can react more quickly.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So
And
I guess my follow-up question would be, is there a specific score that historically we've had over the last few years? Like, say, I think if I understood you correctly, you're saying you're not so worried about meeting state proficiency. It's more that we're on, if the state average is here, you're concerned about a relative position to the state average. Is that right?
Well, that's how the scoring is going.
Right.
If it was my druthers, I'd rather know what the proficiency level of the student on the particular assessment is, because there's there are different types of assessments. There's norm-based proficiency assessments, and then there are also percentage-based. So, you want to know where you stand, your students stand in that particular group. I don't think that a township like Cedar Grove is best served by working off of the average score of the state of New Jersey.
I agree.
Okay? We should probably be looking at what was our old district factor grouping, which they no longer have, because the Abbotts have been, removed from their dialogue down in Trenton, where those types of school districts, we're looking at where do we sit with those districts? Where are our scores in particular with those? And it isn't about, and this is something we have to understand in education, it's not about perfection, it's about maintaining excellence. And when you maintain excellence, what you try to do is exactly what Ms. Dora said before, is promote growth. It's not about getting every student from 2 to 10.
Right.
It's about getting the student at 2 to 4, getting the student at the 4 to 6, and the one that's 8, get them to 10.
Right.
So you have to, and the only way you can do that is understand the data that's presented for your particular class. I have a son that teaches, and we have this conversation all the time.
Is there a specific goal that you would like to reach within a certain amount of time that's measurable so that we could understand if we're meeting the goals, the specific goal of where we'd like to be?
I don't think I don't want to state a percentage on our end. What I think that is that's a question that I would ask the building administrators, because each building is going to be different. There may be a need.
Right.
There may be a need at South End that's a little different than North End. One might be focusing more on a mathematics component, and one might have a literacy issue. You don't know. The data is going to tell you what it is that you need to focus on.
Okay.
But there are certain things, and I know that Mr. Pearson is really working on the middle school math program to address the algebra piece, because the one thing we have to understand is that when you have Algebra 1 in 8th grade, that is the same Algebra 1 class they're taking in high school. It's not a different class. Once it's a different class, then you're not going to see the progression of the student in the sequencing of math courses. So, this is all something that we're dealing with through the curriculum committee, and they've been fantastic in accepting some of this and addressing it.
Okay, thank you. I look forward to further discussion.
It's a work in progress.
Yes, thanks, guys.
But I
All right.
appreciate your involvement
Oh, sure.
and
Thank
your,
you.
interest.
Yeah, I think math, it builds logical reasoning and mental discipline, so I think it's so important. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's all I have there, so I close that. Sure. Yeah, go ahead. You're fine. I'll let you.
Jennifer Coakley, 15 Donato Drive, Cedar Grove, and South End school teacher. I just wanted to address, because the Linkit situation, is that going to be the only means that we're assessing math? Because we've brought up concerns about, and I'm going to speak from my level, some of our children don't have the computer skills to do well on the test, because the test is read to them in certain portions, but then some portions they're expected to scroll down. They don't know how to use a mouse, so they don't know to scroll down. They're not choosing an answer because they don't see an answer, or it reads a portion of the test to them, but then the word scroll is not read to them, so they don't know to scroll down.
In your situation, you have the babies, the littles.
Right.
It's a piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
All the way up. Linkit is a piece of the puzzle.
Multiple
No, and I
variables.
understand we don't have the NJSLA, so I just wanted to make
Well, the
sure
other
that that piece is understood, that our kids are not getting that computer background that's necessary for them to really achieve and succeed sometimes on those computer, versions of the test.
There's still great value in teacher-based assessments.
Oh, I agree, I agree.
And those assessments, if given at a key point in time at the end of one year, and as you know, start the next year in certain mid-range grades, you can tell a lot about where you're going to start your class, especially in mathematics.
Absolutely.
And where you're going to be able to finish them.
Okay.
I would like to say that on your behalf, Mrs. Coakley, I had the benefit of being online with you for a year during the pandemic, and I will tell you, of being a person who was taught the state about how to observe teachers, this is one of the best teachers we have in the district.
Thank
You
you,
did an outstanding job.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Now I'll close that portion of the meeting. Okay, so announcement of future meetings. Our next meeting will be held September 26th. It will be at the North End Media Center, 6:30 for closed session, 7:30 for regular meeting. The meeting after that would be October 30th, and that will be at South End, same times. At this time, I need a motion to go into executive session to discuss matters of personnel and to adjourn the public session,
No action to be taken.
and no action will be taken. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Have to do a roll call?
No, I just.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a very nice evening. And I look